Baltimore, a city that big and still can't figure out IT.
And it's just been a nightmare for the last 3 weeks, and probably will be for months coming forward.
Let's talk about it. Welcome to Squirrel Trails. I'm David.
And I'm Al.
Today, we're going to talk about how Baltimore can't figure out what's going on.
And probably won't for quite a while to come.
But first, we are in a new spot today. We figured out some issues with our camera and our audio. We got all that squared away, hopefully.
Yeah, about as squared away as we ever do.
So, maybe we'll start recording here.
We'll see
what happens.
Yeah.
So, hope you enjoy.
Certainly the couch is a lot more comfortable than chairs we were in.
Definitely. So, Al, what do you got for us today?
Hey, I picked up a couple of articles related to the city of Baltimore and the ransomware issue that they've had. This has just been this is popcorn reading.
Only a couple articles?
Yeah, there's a lot of articles. I think I've got about 4 articles here just related to what happened in the city of Baltimore. Let's think about how ransomware happens.
Okay.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Sure. And maybe if I can figure it out, there'll be an icon up here where you can click and find out that video. Let's see how that works for me.
It's training.
If it's not up there, I didn't figure it out.
Okay.
So,
World of Warcraft with the question mark.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think it's what it is, question mark. Anyways. Squirrel Trails. So,
you got to sit in on my conference meetings.
Yeah. Right? So ransomware. So, basically, what is ransomware?
Okay, as we talked about a few weeks ago, ransomwares are a bad guy installs software either through a virus or some other form of attack and locks up your computer. Either deletes all the information and copies it to where they've got it, or they simply encrypt it, and they are requiring you to pay them money or a Bitcoin or something else for you to be able to get that data back.
And it's just data? I mean, do they lock you out of the computer completely? Or?
It can lock them out of the computer completely. It's generally a case of where they give you enough information so you can come up and see the message that says, give me money.
Sure. And email address.
Yeah, an email address. Well, they'll tell you typically how to contact them.
Sure. But it's usually just a pop-up then.
It's just part of a pop-up.
Hey, we've got all your access. Here's how to contact us. We'll speak then.
Yeah, it's a wonderful way to sit down with your morning coffee and and find out that no, you can't work today.
Some days I wouldn't mind. Doesn't mean I don't want ransomware.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I'd rather make money than lose money.
Yeah, or in the case of the city actually provides services.
Just about any services.
Just about any services.
So Baltimore got some ransomware.
Yep.
For a few weeks ago.
Yeah, May 7th.
May 7th. Okay. Well, that's when they discovered it.
Yes, May 7th, 2019.
So more than likely someone before then got in to download the ransomware, and it popped on this day.
Right. So what ended up happening with this is it's what's called Robin Hood.
Okay.
Is a particular type of malware or ransomware that was used. Nice part about this one is you actually have to be on the system and apply it device by device.
Okay.
So it's not like it's a virus that spreads.
Sure. Okay. So so instead of it just spreading once you boot the computer up,
right?
Someone has to physically.
Well, it goes to a device, and unlike a regular virus where it just grows on its own.
Yep.
In this case, somebody would actually have to not physically be on the device,
okay,
but be able to operate as an administrator on the device to load it up.
Okay. So they got administration rights beforehand.
Yes. So that sometime before May 7th, and it would be nice if we could actually find the data to know how it happened, but yeah, that would be one of the problems too.
Yeah.
So they don't know.
They don't know. Okay. So So the ransomware gets downloaded, and
Yep.
all of a sudden on May 7th, it pops up. Do they know ahead of time, or was this kind of just a
This was kind of a real surprise.
real surprise?
Yeah, so they,
There was no like email saying, "Hey, give us money, otherwise we'll do something."
crap, I gotta look that up. Hold that thought.
Time out. Okay, so we're back. So from the articles we have, it doesn't look like we know.
Yeah, it wasn't addressed that there was any kind of warning associated to this.
Okay, but
What-
that may be something not given out.
Right, because there's not a lot of data that's provided.
Sure.
There are a lot of situations, though, with ransomware where they will say, if you don't give us, actually, back all the way up,
Okay.
if I was getting threatened with ransomware, why would I bring my computers up?
Well, you're a city.
Right, but it's
So-
just one of those things. Yeah,
True. Yeah. I mean, normally,
Yeah.
if in a personal or a small business,
right.
Yeah, I
You're
wouldn't-
gonna sit there. The interesting piece with this one that comes in is that the city information security manager warned that they need to have better software, better security, just literally a few weeks before the attack, but he wasn't able to get any money for it. So actually, it was the budget hearings in the prior year, but they didn't get any money for it. So
maybe he will know.
yeah, I would say that he's probably they're spending a lot of money now.
Okay. And so they didn't pay the ransom.
No, they
They're
did not pay
Are they going to pay the ransom?
No, they're not going to pay the ransom.
So they already stated, no, we're not going to do this.
Nope.
We're going to go to our backups and hopefully figure something out.
Yeah, that was making the assumption that they had backups.
Of course. Again, why would you need backups?
So what ended up happening is the attack started and they saw what was occurring and they shut down all of their systems.
Okay.
So literally all the systems in the city shut down because they didn't know where the ransomware was at. So they didn't want to have it propagate any further out in the environment.
Okay, quick question. So what areas did they shut down? What kind of, as a first city, what would they shut down?
They basically shut down everything except their emergency services.
Which would be kind of
Fire, so they shut down everything pretty much except police and fire. And
Okay.
so any of their back office operations for sending out bills,
Parks and Rec.
The big one that's caused a lot of consternation in the environment is the fact that they can't close any home sales.
Wow. So hopefully you weren't in the market in Boston.
Yeah, in Baltimore.
Baltimore.
So
I got a trip on my mind, sorry.
David clearly wants to go to Boston. So, lobster, and he loves seafood.
I love seafood.
So anyway, so yeah, they can't perform anything. One of
That
them,
reminds me, McDonald's might have their special over there. Their seafood special.
squirrel,
Sorry.
squirrel, focus.
Yep.
Good Lord, I thought I was the squirrel on the team. So, at any rate, wherever he might have been going with that. So the malware hit. Biggest issue that they had was they couldn't perform many of their back office operations, and that included their email services.
Okay.
Now, if you think about a city government,
It's a lot of emails.
that's a lot of emails because that's how a lot of people interact with the city is with email.
Yeah.
So they couldn't get their email operating. So that's a huge issue within this thing.
Okay. That's a caveat to a future
Yes.
down the line here a little bit.
Right.
So let's go back. So no more sales for homes,
No more sales for homes. Can't send out bills,
like electric bills. So are
electric
people like,
bills, water bills and such. The kind of things the city has.
Sure. But all that's still functioning, kind of.
Yeah, they're still kind of
Power's
functioning.
on.
Power's on because that's provided.
Yep.
Water is clearly still on.
Sure.
They are trying to do and have been for the last few weeks doing manual workarounds where they can because
Okay.
it's not like people have stopped living in Baltimore, so
Yep,
they
yep.
still need to provide some services, but it's really impacting revenues and all the other things that they'd have.
Couldn't they throw up their own Wi-Fi?
that would be a network thing, but that still wouldn't deal with the fact that they don't have any of their data files.
Well, again, no backups.
So
People, if you have any amount of information on a computer, do a backup.
yes, and more importantly, make sure the backup works.
And make sure the backup isn't on the network.
Right. So, I mean, this is where a lot of these issues come into play. If you don't think about and I'm going to wander down a side path here, if you don't think that a disaster is ever going to actually impact you, you tend not to take disaster recovery seriously.
And is that where like the IT guy said, "Hey, we need money for this," and they're like, "No, we don't."
Yeah, that was a security piece. Yeah, we need money for security. And I'm guessing the city council kind of went, yeah, you always want money, because security guys always want money.
Okay. How big is their security department, by the way?
It doesn't really say here, but the challenge we've got is most of the money that they have is not controlled by IT. So let's roll back several years.
Okay.
Because this issue didn't just occur out of the blue. Bad things tend to happen because of bad management over time.
Sure. Yep.
So, interesting piece to this is they've had 5 CIOs in about 5 years.
Like one per year.
Yeah, it's the article says 4 in the last 5, but if you count the current one, yeah, that would be 5. They've lost 4 in 5 years.
Now, are they quitting? Or are they getting let go?
They're getting let go. Now, in one case, it was somebody got let go because he'd been doing bad things at a prior company.
Okay.
So typically, if you don't pass your background check, well, you probably shouldn't get hired first.
True.
But in this case, you require a lot of money, so they do it. They had another guy that was let go because they thought he had done something bad, but he hadn't actually. Okay. He actually got cleared.
Okay.
So, and yeah, where do I get my reputation back as the story goes?
Yeah.
But he ended up it ended up being city politics. Somebody in the mayor's office had it out for him, so planted bad email in his fraudulent email in his account that made it look like he had hired somebody preferentially, which he had not.
Gotcha. Of course.
Yeah, and the other ones tend to be pretty much just, bad management. So, and these things kind of add, if you think about, if you're not overseeing management on your car, bad things keep building up.
Yep. And fall into the cracks.
Yes.
If you're changing that often, I mean, things, here's a plan, here's a budget, here's a plan. And 5 months into it, oh yeah, nope, sorry, we're moving someone else.
Right. So you get, and that's a great point, because in some cases these guys just started to learn their environment.
I mean, yeah.
And to be honest, CIOs every CIO has their own approach that they want to make to rather run the environment. So they're going to continue to make changes. So if you have constant leadership changes, that's a red flag typically that you have a problem. Auditors look for that.
Yeah.
If you have constant changes in management, or the org chart is put out on yellow sticky notes on wallpaper as opposed to actually on a Visio diagram, that's generally a clue that you got a problem.
Sure. Okay. That's that's a big problem.
Yeah, that's
out. Wow.
So
leave a comment below on bad management in your field.
Yeah, it's just and I would encourage you, if you have a situation where you run into bad management, take a look at how many times that management has changed. So, and I'll go back to the example of the car. If you're finding that you're continuing to not pay attention to the car, the next person that drives the car has even more problems.
Sure.
And so these things all add up. And so in many ways, the last CIO that was let go, I'm not sure it was even her fault. It was just a mess. Yeah, it's just, if you got that kind of a mess, it's really hard to succeed.
Yeah.
Especially if you've been a part of the environment already. One of the things that I like to say to management is when a manager stops saying, "We do what?" in a sense of shock.
Yeah.
It's time for them to get a new job, because they've become part of the problem.
Definitely.
So it's just one of those things. It's if you've been in the environment too long, you're seeing it just looks normal to you. And we've talked before about normalizations of deviance. Same kind of concept here.
Okay. So the next step is what?
So what they're going to have to do, and what they are doing, is trying to recover all the files, stand everything up, and redo stuff. Now, what that's happening is that means they have to, in many cases, start over from scratch.
I was just going to say, they don't have any backups.
Well, no, it's not they don't have any backups, it's just the backups aren't working.
They don't have any backups then. If it doesn't work, you don't have it.
Yeah, that's one of those things I've said to people in disaster recovery, business continuity programs before. So you haven't tested it.
So it's like your car thing.
Yeah.
You're talking about. Yeah, I got a car. It doesn't run.
Well, how do you know it doesn't run?
Well, okay, you turn the key and it just doesn't run?
Well, a better example is I have a car. I've never tried to run it, but I have a car.
Sure, yeah.
So it's kind of like me and my math abilities.
Or me, my reading.
Yeah, that too. Ongoing joke. So, so at any rate, backing up on this one. So as you try to recover, it was very clear that they did not have a plan for how they were going to recover from any disaster, much less a ransomware attack.
Yeah.
And so they've been trying to build this up. They've gotten huge grief on this one. Now, as you might expect, this probably isn't the only problem they've run into.
Probably not. So what else have they run into?
So the one I thought was the best part is they almost lost their website in May. Cities
almost lost their own website.
Right. Now, fortunately, the website is being hosted by somebody else. They're not hosting it themselves.
Okay.
Which, in this case, was a good idea because the ransomware didn't hit it.
Yay! They got one thing half right?
Yeah, they have right. However, in May, the hosting provider was about to shut the website down because they hadn't been paid since January.
Wow, that's a...
Yeah. How does that happen?
Yeah.
So if you think about it, they're actually being kind of nice. A lot of providers after 60 days, you're done.
Yep.
So, but it's a city, so they trust them. It's a city of Baltimore. Not quite sure why they were trusting them.
Yeah, no.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, if it was the domain name, you usually pay a year.
Right, but this was the hosting service.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like they were going to lose their domain name. But again, goes to the concept of the car. They had the domain name, but no place to run it.
No place to run it. Great.
So, yeah. So what ended up happening with this one, this was kind of fun. Actually, it's painful. So,
so that means fun.
That means fun for me.
And us.
Yeah. So my staff would say that I use English poorly in these situations. Okay. So what?
Watch your language.
For fun, exciting, interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, none of those are positive comments when they come out of my mouth. So,
true statement.
So they had a contract with this hosting provider, and it ran through the end of 2018.
Okay.
Now, last I knew, we were in 2019.
Yes.
Yep. So that was a bit of the problem. Now, the reason that they didn't pay them is they weren't authorized to pay them because the contract ended in 2018.
2018.
Yeah, the contract ended in 2018. And so they were supposed to have already put it out for a new bid.
Oh, they were.
And so, because you're required to do that. We like that. People are supposed to put these things out to bid for periodically to make sure you're getting the right price, the right services.
Yep.
This is a part of the process to do this. Good vendor management. Good vendor management means, though, sending out the bid request.
Well, wouldn't you do that? Wouldn't you do that in like 2018?
Well, I would have been the intent.
So how
they forgot.
Oh man.
Literally, it appears that they forgot. So, oops, contract expired in January. And because there was no contract, and it's good city government, kind of, but good city government, I can't pay that bill because the contract's no longer valid.
Yep.
Everything's working properly.
Yeah. Oh.
This is what we call good internal controls.
Yes.
Except
didn't work out.
it didn't work out because that first piece of sending the contract out for bid and approvals didn't get there. Now, let's think about this a little bit. This goes back to the fact that how many CIOs have they had in the last 5 years?
Well, now 5.
So that's part of the challenge when you have that much change in organization. Who has to approve the contracts?
Yikes! The city management did.
Yeah, who has to send it out for a proposal? Well, the procurement guys were going to send it out, but it was probably sitting in somebody's desk or potentially in somebody's email who's no longer with the organization. This part I'm kind of making up. I'm trying to think of a way this could happen.
Well, that maybe. I mean, if management changing after, probably employees maybe changing
emails.
faster.
Yeah, so all these kinds of things can happen.
So I bet they let go of the manager.
You probably
And then he had the email.
Would be my guess.
And of course, when you fire someone, you just wouldn't you check the emails for have access to their emails still?
I mean, like succession planning and having good transition processes that come into play. So
politics.
So let's say you're running a small business.
Sure. Yes.
Okay, and you're and your bookkeeper or your accountant that you've got in your office leaves the company.
Yep.
You don't let them go. They just decide to leave.
Okay. They just
whatever. They're gonna give you 2 weeks notice and they go.
Sure.
You as a business owner are probably going to make sure that you've maintained access to their email.
Yep.
So you can see what's coming in because people are still going to send that email. Or maybe, here's a thought, have their email redirected to somebody else.
Just redirect to
the new person.
Or a hold spot.
Yes.
So you can go in and check.
There's lots of good ways to do this.
Yes.
Ignoring it isn't one of those.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Rarely is ignoring something a good management technique. They teach that in school.
Well, maybe in Boston it is. Boston. Man, I'm hungry.
Still want that lobster, don't you?
I am kind of hungry. Baltimore.
So in Baltimore, no. Hey,
maybe we better the Baltimoreans. Is that how you say it?
The people from Baltimore. Let's be easy.
Okay, so the people in Baltimore. They should be in Boston, by the way. It make the story
yeah,
a lot
that's less. Yeah. Okay. Well, and right now, if they're trying to buy real estate or sell real estate, they probably wishing they were in Boston right now.
Yeah, better place too.
So, at any rate, so back to the story. So this one is that one was kind of a hoot, and that's classical vendor management, procurement management. It's just it all adds up. I am guessing that if I had spent more time reading the Baltimore newspaper, I'd have even more stories.
So, a link below to maybe a website you can check out.
Yeah, we'll give you.
If it's up.
Yeah. We'll end up. Like I said, we got a whole bunch of articles.
There'll be a bunch of links down below to what we found and maybe some city pages, or at least.
Yeah, we'll add the link to the city there, and probably a link to the newspaper as well.
True.
Because that's where a lot of these things came out of. It's really the papers have done a nice job covering this, but it's kind of like watching a train wreck. So it's kind of for me it's kind of fun to watch, but I live in Minneapolis. I don't live in Baltimore. If I was living in Baltimore, I'd probably just be a tad unhappy.
Yeah, you in Baltimore. Yeah.
I'd have to, and they probably wouldn't let me write audit findings there either.
No, especially with the email that is going up tomorrow. The email that you sent me that I'm posting on our Facebook account is a link below. Little plug. About that email on Facebook, or it's going to be a link to an article about auditors breaking down doors. Something that when I read it, I thought it was about you. But
well, I didn't do it this time.
Okay, exactly. So that's what I could see you doing that there.
He did. I'm more mature now than I ever have been.
Okay. Let's just go with that.
And the Fifth Amendment still applies. So, at any rate.
By the way,
Yes.
anything we say on this video is our opinion, and it does not.
Yeah, in this case, clearly doesn't represent any of the opinion of my management or the management of the companies that I work for.
Or have worked for.
Right, because, yeah, they'd be grumpy.
Yes.
So, at any rate, let's
Anyways.
get me out of trouble. Keep talking.
Okay. So, so emails. They've had problems with their emails.
And
So
those
kind of-
continue.
and let's kind of continue that trend of the email problems.
So, to get
teased
through,
earlier.
Yeah, so to get through the email issue that they had, they did what any other small business.
So they didn't have it. So before we get there,
Right.
They have now no access to their email system because everything else is closed down.
Right.
So they can't access. Not only can they not do anything, but they don't have access to their emails. So
They still have to talk to people. They still have to communicate.
they still have to communicate. So what would you do in that case?
Well, I think most of us would try to find if I'd lost my email account, I'd go set up a new one.
Sure. Okay. Perfect.
So, and that's what they did.
Okay. Awesome.
Hey,
Yeah. Good job.
it wasn't part of their disaster recovery plan, unfortunately, but they did get there.
Well, they probably added it now.
They've added it now. Well,
That's how they're doing this. They're creating their own disaster
Disaster
recovery
recovery.
during the disaster.
You know, you got to do it sometime.
This sounds like a good book. So, if you're anywhere out there, somehow found us and talking about your city,
Or your company, for that matter.
or your company, this may be a good book on how to put a disaster recovery together.
This would be a good start. There are several good books on this topic. All right, that sounds like David wants me to find another link.
Yes,
So I can do this.
below. We'll have a bunch of links today.
Links are me. So,
So anyway, so they created their own emails.
well, they went out to Gmail and they set up a bunch of email accounts, which, okay, you're in a hurry. And this is one of the problems with disaster recovery. You're in a high stress situation. You're probably not going to be making good decisions. This is why we like to have a disaster recovery plan
Ahead of time.
ahead of time so you know what you're going to do.
Sure.
Because when you are completely wigged out, you're not making good decisions.
Okay.
So,
Me and caffeine.
yeah, okay, absolutely. You and school test. So they're
So they created their own Gmail accounts, right?
right. So they went out and set up a whole bunch of Gmail accounts.
Okay. So normally you just create one at a time.
That would be the norm unless you're like a spammer or somebody that's setting up a bunch of accounts that are that you're going to want to use for
There's trash
bad
emails.
things. Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a company, you're actually supposed to do this, and Gmail will support you with this. They've got a way to set up a corporate account so you can set up just a whole bunch of emails at the same time.
Perfect.
And manage this.
Got everything squared away.
Right.
Okay. Now they got their emails taken care of. What's next?
Yeah, the problem is they didn't use that corporate approach.
Oh no.
They set up all sorts of emails, so Gmail thought that they were bad guys, so they locked all the accounts.
So they have they have their emails, and now Gmail locked them out.
Right.
Wow.
So,
Ransomware again.
yeah, well, okay. So now they didn't lose any data this time. They just can't send or receive any more emails.
Well, Google has it, so they probably
Google
lost it.
has it, so no. So anyway, before we get sued, no, Google actually said they've got it. They thought they were spammers, so they just locked it up.
They locked it up.
But they didn't delete everything because that's good business practices. Let's make sure before we destroy something what's going on.
Yep.
And so that is what Google did with this. And now they've gone back and they're restoring all those accounts as they're trying to get this together. But again, it goes to you need to think about how you're going to do this stuff, but that requires management, foresight, which probably means you need to have a bit of management continuity.
Yep.
And planning as to how we're going to do these things.
Yeah.
So the city of Baltimore continues to run through with these challenges. They're probably going to be fighting this for another month or so, if not longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. The new CIO, they've hired a really good guy. I believe he's out of Intel to do this work, put this thing together. So they have done a nice job now to say, okay, let's figure this mess out. And how do we get going with this? Mm-hmm. So he's trying to get there, but again, if you're in a big pile of smelly stuff, it takes a while you just can't pour perfume on it. So you actually have to dig your way out. So he's going to have to do a little of that digging, and if you do that too quickly, you slip and fall into stuff as well.
Sure.
So and that doesn't help anybody.
No. So hopefully they'll get stuff solved here very shortly.
So the one thing that we hadn't talked about yet, and I'm not sure if you want to or not, is the fact that let's say they had paid their ransomware.
I was just gonna. So one, we talk too much. I'm turning out like you. Just gonna throw that out there. Anyways, so we were talking off camera, not this morning, but we were talking about domain names this morning.
Yes, we had a thriving discussion about domain names on my drive in this morning.
That was fun. Oh man, the things I think. Yep.
Okay. Back.
Okay, so, I'll let you.
Okay.
I'll introduce this one.
So there was another article that ProPublica sent out. It's really a nice article and a write-up on if you paid to have your data restored, and you've brought somebody in to do that, you're anticipating that you're not going to be paying the ransomware.
Well, that's what you paid them for.
Right. And you may be wanting to do that for a number of reasons. Now, the article that we've got, and it'll be linked from ProPublica, actually identifies that there's a lot of evidence that says that ransomware finds its way back into terrorist organizations or other bad guys.
Yep. And so that's why we usually don't pay them.
Right. That's the reason the FBI says don't do it.
Yep.
So, but then again, you're going to get your data back, so you hire somebody that says they're going to make this happen for you.
Sure. They'll take care of it. They'll put everything back together for you.
Now, in the case of some companies with this article, I'm not going to name any names on this discussion here.
Okay.
Again, because I like my mortgage where it's at. So, and not in some attorney's fees.
True.
What was found in this article, and please read this in the link. It's a great read. It's a long article, but it's really good. What they found is that many, or at least some of the vendors that you might hire for data recovery in events of ransomware are simply contacting the bad guy and paying the ransom and pocketing the difference.
So this I have a huge problem with.
So now in a couple of cases, the companies are actually saying, this is what we're going to do. We'll negotiate with them for you, so you don't have to be, your conscience is clear.
No, that's not how it works at all. You still know it. You still know you're paying the ransom.
Well, you've paid somebody to do the recovery work, and you're closing your eyes.
You're still paying the ransom.
Okay, be that way.
I'm just saying, it just frustrates me that if we don't do it ourselves, nothing happened.
Right. But we paid somebody else to do it. We know that. Now, so you could think about it this way. The other companies that are just paying the ransomware but they haven't told you that it's going.
That's even worse.
Well, but they're making you feel so much better.
Feelings. Again.
Because they've said, yes, here's your data.
We'll take care of it.
Done. Don't look. It's kind of like when you're talking to your teenagers. And they go, and I'm not going to stem any stories, but there were a few times that with David, we'd go, so what was happening with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
Anyways, so, again.
This case, I've talked too much, I can tell.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what story you're telling. There's too many.
Right.
We'll just stay away from all of them.
Yeah.
So
I could do our own podcast, the stories of David as a teenager.
my life story.
Keep going.
Don't
Keep
be asked
going.
for it. Anyways, so I get that their companies need their data back.
Right. Absolutely.
And so paying the ransom, yes, it's easier, it's faster.
And in the case, as we've seen with the city of Baltimore, might have been their only option.
Again, this comes to planning ahead.
Right.
This comes to having backups off the network. Because it's awesome when people have backups that they're on the network. And so when this happens, not only are they locked out of their current system, they can't even go to your backups because that's locked up too.
So at some point in time, we probably need to have a discussion for those that don't understand the difference between active backups and some of the weirdness that comes into play with this.
Yep, that's a whole separate video.
Right. We're not going to do that today because I do want to go home.
This is so much fun. So are these companies? Is it okay for them to pay for it?
There is nothing illegal about paying a ransom.
This is where our conversation went last time.
Exactly. It is not illegal. It is illegal to hold something up for ransom.
Okay.
But the courts in the United States, I can't speak to anything else, just the reading that I've done, have held that if you are in the United States and you pay a ransom because somebody has stole somebody, as call back to the previous conversation.
Yep.
If you pay
I'll find that one a funny moment.
Okay. Hopefully he'll figure out how to do links, and you'll give a link back to that so he can tell that story.
Yep.
But anyway, if you pay that ransom, you're not doing anything illegal. So let's be really clear about that.
Yeah.
So we're not throwing rocks at anybody who has actually had to pay a ransom.
Things that need to get taken care of. I get it.
Yeah. So that's part of the deal. But you again, this is how you set yourself up. What we think about is threat management.
Okay.
Knowing what kind of things could happen to you as a company.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's an IT thing, if it's a fire, if it's a car that broke down.
Yep.
You know, if you're a sales guy and you go from place to place selling something, your disaster recovery plan may be, my car broke.
Yes.
You know, so these things are important. You got to think about what could go wrong.
Yep. And in situations.
Right.
Kind of any situation.
Any situation.
I know when I was back in school, we were talking. We had a plan for disaster recovery, and we did the alien attack one.
Ooh, not one that I've ever used at a company.
No, it's probably there. The zombie attack one. That's fun. Because not only do you have to secure your data, but now you got to secure your building.
You know, and I thought talking about following meteorites and nuclear attacks was hard.
That's easy. That's easy stuff.
So, at any rate, the reality is there's all sorts of ways that you can have an attack. Ransomware is simply one of them. Think about the ways that your business or even at home, something could occur.
Yeah.
And we'll do another conversation. One of the articles on the Facebook link that we've got is what happens if your backup vendor isn't actually backing up all your files. So go to the Facebook page if you can. Take a look at that. That's one of the articles that I posted this last week. That's kind of a hoot because in this case, many of the people who thought that their files were being backed up, not all of them were. So kind of bad things happen. So again, it's your data. I don't care if you're a city, a company, or just somebody at home.
Yep.
You need to think about how you're going to protect it. And
especially these days. Right. I mean, even we all think about big companies again, but like you said, being just yourself, your home is essentially, your computer has all your banking,
right,
everything on it, and with homes now becoming smarter homes,
right, everything is linked in.
The potential of a home computer getting locked out,
right,
ransomware,
Yeah. If you think about the number of intelligent devices, we're clearly not talking about teenagers here. But if you think about the number of intelligence devices that are in your home, there are, you probably have as many devices as the average small business does. So you got to think about it and think about what could I afford to lose? It might be everything, and that's okay. Disaster recovery isn't about saying that I'm going to recover everything, but what do I want to recover and how do I want to do this? So you don't make better than a month's worth of newspaper articles like the city of Baltimore has as they try to figure this out.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to end it there. Enjoy the read, and comment down below what your thoughts are, your opinions. Again, like our last video, which we had a great discussion after that video.
Yep.
Great comments down below. Thank you for those. What do you think Baltimore should do?
They should recover.
How?
But they probably need to start thinking, because it's not just about recovering, it's planning for the next attack.
Okay. So what should their plans be for the next attack?
There we go.
So make a comment below, and we'll see what your thoughts are, and we'll give our opinions.
Take care, folks.
Take care. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and then hit the bell notification as well. That way when we post up videos, you'll get notified.
Happy trails, folks.